Hey everyone, welcome to something of a trial run on the channel. I feel like I start every video by telling you guys that this new video that I'm doing is something exciting or interesting or something that you haven't seen me do normally, but in truth this is pretty much exactly like the last PvP video that I did. I'm going to be calling it Kill Your Hero, this new series, which, cheesiness aside, I know is going to be the new format for my PvP type videos that involve footage of me dueling someone that I know. And it doesn't matter if you're a subscriber or an uploader or what, because I feel like differentiating a series like that is a bit weird now that I look back on what I've done in the past with those sorts of videos. And today's killer is Stryder XV. You might know him, but if you don't, he does PvP commentaries over on his channel, which are of an excellent quality. He's an awesome guy, a great fighter, and I kind of feel like I'm running out of descriptors for how highly I think of him. So seriously, like this is the guy that we were able to get back into uploading thanks to some massive donations. So I hope that you go check him out if you haven't already, because he is definitely worth your time. Also, if you haven't seen it, I recently did a dual commentary with him on his channel, in which we actually had a bit of a chat about soul memory and gave our opinions on that kind of stuff, the meta, all that kind of stuff. Now, as I've said, Australia Stryder is an excellent player. I've spent a lot of time watching him play in the past, like a scary amount of time, before he took a bit of break during, due to not being able to upload. And though you might think that it would have prepared me for a lot of his tactics, it honestly just kind of didn't. These are actually like the second lot of matches that I've had with him, and the first will be making their appearances soon, I promise, because there are a lot of great fights in there that Stryder didn't get to record that I actually did, and I want to share them because like I got a few parries off, and I'm really vain and stupid like that. So, but yeah, Stryder remains a force to be reckoned with. Like when I fight with him, it's always interesting. He's almost always unpredictable. Like you can't just bait him, into those parries and stuff. He doesn't behave like a normal player, and this is basically, these types of fights are the ones that I really enjoy, because you end up actually having to tighten up your player skill instead of your ability to adapt to a situation in a random invasion, that kind of stuff. He's using a quality build, I believe, and he's mixing up his weapon choice a lot, which is really nice, because after about 4 hours of fighting, you can get through a lot of weapons. I'm using pretty much the same build that I did in my previous PvP video, with like the only difference being that I think I moved on from the Simpletons ring to the Strength ring instead. There was literally no reason for me to favor the Strength ring over the Dexterity ring or the Simpletons ring, since they weigh exactly the same amount of in-game weight, but I have left the Simpletons ring behind. Now, I have to explain, because in my previous video, I was really into the Simpletons ring, and now I'm just kind of not, because, I mean, it's not that I dislike the effect, but honestly, it's started to get distracting, personally, and I guess I don't have so I don't hate the regular role as much as I might have emphasized in my last video. Like, it doesn't look that horrible to me now. Probably because I'm just used to it. Like, I hated the thing at the start. It still looks bad, but I don't know, like the puffy, the smoke thing, I don't know, it looks fine to me. Like, I don't, hate anyone that uses it, but I don't know, it got tiring for me personally. So why switch apart from that? Well, there's kind of a lot of rumor stuff circulating around the ring and its supposed abilities. Like Like some people claim that Fire Snake will not track someone who uses the Simpleton's ring if they roll, but honestly, I think that's a load of bullshit. I think people are connecting a person dodging their attack successfully with a ring that just adds five adaptability and changes an animation cosmetically. Like it, I think it's kind of like a Jim Carrey in the number 23 situation, you know, like you look for it, so you find it. Like it's confirmation bias at its finest with these types of people. Now, of course, if something in the future comes out to prove me wrong on that, then, you know, I can see, like, hey, I can learn, it's fine. But, you know, there's also been a particular attitude directed at people who use the Simpleton's ring that I find unsavory. And it's wrongful too. Like, despite being perfectly legit, it feels like the poofy smoke effect that the ring gives you has brought about like the same attitude as the Darkwood Rain Ring did in Dark Souls players. Like, i.e. that people who use it simply want more iframes and thus are try hard. I don't really like that attitude, and I dislike the people who preach it. And unfortunately, when something is commonly perceived as being try hard, it's incredibly difficult to change that, and it's ended up joining the Jester, Gurm, Havel, Chaos Blade type setup in the way that it makes certain people feel when they see it. Like, they can't help it. They might not think that it's all that bad, but it just screams something to them in the back of their mind that it doesn't look right. Like, why are you using that? Why do you need that? So, if a person wins with a Simpleton's ring, like, I've noticed, like, I've actually seen, like, their clear skill as a player discounted because they used it, despite the fact that it changes literally nothing about a fight. Anyway, I've completely stopped using it, both because I've grown tired of the effect on my own characters, except for one, and I don't really like the attitude that could be directed at me in the future because of it. Like, if it's going to have that kind of a reaction, I'd rather just not use it. I'm not that attached to it. And now that kind of segues into my first thought, which is, like, on tactics that you might call try hard. I've given you my opinion on the Simpleton's ring, and please remember that for every opinion I give here, like, I love getting your feedback, so let me know what your opinions are on whichever points you feel resonate with you, or whichever you disagree with, or, like, whichever you agree with too, because, yeah, like, but what I've noticed is, like, a dislike for mid-fight weapon swapping, which, if you watch me play, you know that I do that, so you can obviously guess at my opinion, at least partially, on how I feel about that, because, you see, my build runs really low vitality so that I can use the Flynn's Ring and Ring of Blades together to get a lot of extra damage out of smaller weapons and some bigger ones as well. But this limits me in two ways, because I can't use medium armor pretty much at all, and therefore I have no poise. And, like, two, I can't use a lot of heavy weapons or equipment in my hands at once, so I can't fill up all my hand slots with, you know, just different weapons and stuff to use. Because of this, I wear really light armor. Agdane's robes, because I think it looks decent and has decent defenses as far as I know. The bloodstained skirt, because it matches, because I feel like it matches the I feel like it matches Agdane's robes, and the shadow gauntlets for the same reasons. Basically, I think the shadow gauntlets look cool. I don't care about the extra bleed damage, but that's what they do apparently. And the brigand hood, because I feel like that's been my calling card type thing since I solidified the look of my character back in Dark Souls 1. It's all pretty light, and it doesn't really give great defenses. I think I max out at like 410 or something in my highest attack resistances, so it's really not that great. And on top of that, the heaviest weapon that I can use without dipping into like fat rolling is the what's it called, the Pursuer's Greatsword, and that severely hampers my roll distance. Like, I feel like I need more roll distance than that, and I prefer to be sub 50% equip load at all times, if I can. But the problem with that is that I can basically only use, like I said before, I can only use a limited amount of equipment. I only have a target shield on my left hand and a pyro flame, and one weapon in the right, as well as the mail breaker in the second slot in the right hand, because it weighs only half a unit and it's very good. Now, I make use of weapon swapping mid-fight instead of just pressing right or left on the D-pad because of that, and though it's often used to try and confuse or like switch to a more favorable moveset based on like how someone's playing, like if someone's using a twin blade, then I want something long that pokes, you know? So that's the reason that I usually switch it up. I really don't see how it's any different to someone who stacks vitality and has a possible 6 different weapons on their person at all times. Now, unless, of course, you're of the opinion that it's a way of cheating and not having to invest more in vitality, but I don't know, man. Like, once you get to that point, I feel like you're just looking for things to complain about, and I stick to a meta that I don't need to stick to and fight people hundreds of levels higher than me every day. So for one of those people to criticize another for menu swapping just feels strange to me, and it's not even that risk-free, because I feel like I get smacked maybe 20% of the time that I try to weapon swap, and if my fingers fuck up, then I don't even swap to the weapon that I wanted. So what do you guys think about weapon swapping mid-fight? Do you think it's okay, or do you maybe think that you should end the fight with the weapon that you started it with? Or tell me what you think, because I'm really eager to get to know both sides of this coin, because like I like to think you guys know me by now. I don't just think that my opinions are law, you know, like I want to know what other people think, because I so often I think one thing, but then someone tells me something like the other side of the coin, and I'm like, oh, well, I didn't think of that. You know, thank you. You know, I have a little bit of perspective on this now. But back to the same topic. What's everyone's stances on like weapon swapping after a parry? Because this is kind of a sensitive issue sometimes, I think. I mean, the other person is on their ass for a couple of seconds, right? And you're free to do whatever you want. So conceivably, you could parry while using nothing but a short sword, and then menu swap to a mundane bandit's knife on your level 838 character to one-shot absolutely everyone. Now, I'm kind of fond of this tactic, but only because it has this fantastic sort of like surprise motherfucker value inherent like in parrying, and then like swapping to a smelter hammer or a fume ultra greatsword, not a dagger, like one of those huge big weapons to utterly just flatten someone. And sometimes it's for the big damage that you get sometimes with these weapons, but if I really wanted just the damage, I'd just switch to a bandit's knife or a shadow dagger in my offhand and one-shot you. And I just love popping this huge weapon up out of nowhere. I don't know, like, I find it super fun. It's not particularly difficult either once you organize your inventory and you just memorize the button presses. I feel like it's so much more fun than just cycling through my 3 right-hand weapons to find my dagger, just because I want that max damage riposte so badly. But once again, please tell me what you think, because I know that it does bother some people. And it kind of, it ties into my opinion that I think a parry is something that should end a fight, you know, like completely. Like, you've predicted your opponent perfectly, and punish them for it by being afforded the ability to do huge damage. In the future, when you fight that person, they should hopefully learn to be less predictable, you know, like parry spammers are easily countered with a whip or jump attacks or unparryable weapons, which I still think are bullshit, but you know, hey, they're useful in that situation. And since the Monastery Scimitar isn't a thing anymore, it's not like there are parrying tools out there that are just plain broken anymore. But ultimately, I think people will do what they think is fun. Like, I switched to the Fume Ultra Greatsword or the Smelter Hammer because I find it fun. Some people find the act of just winning no matter what fun, so they might switch to the mundane Bandit's Knife to riposte. Either way, please do let me know where you fall in this camp, because I think this sharing of mindsets in the comments is one of the most fun things about doing this uploading thing. But if there was like, I think if there was one thing I could maybe criticize about parries and swapping in general, is that parrying puts the other person on the floor for way too long. Like, I'm not even very good at swapping. Sometimes I even fuck it up, and I still manage to do it consistently. It's like, it's nothing like the technical skill, like the lightning fast fingers that you had to have, and like confidence that a weapon swap and ring swap in Dark Souls 1 took. And it's kind of for that reason that menu swapping to a riposte isn't exactly impressive, and I know that for a fact. Like, it's just fun to me. And like, I watch a lot of Steel369 and Roparkour on Twitch, and the swaps that they and some others perform before riposting are really nice to see. Like, 3 rings and a weapon is just amazing to see in action, especially in a gank situation. Like, that's fucking crazy. I've even seen people completely change armor sets and a weapon before riposting, and it's pretty awesome to see, like, just how far people will push the weapons. Like, people will like push the swaps and stuff just for fun's sake. Like, it's not, to me, a try-hard thing. Like, try-hard is pressing right twice on the D-pad to riposte with a dagger and kill someone in one hit. But while we're on the topic of riposte damage, I shared this with Justin, but did you also know that critical damage gets higher in New Game Plus compared to New Game? I did bring that up with Justin, and you can find that video on his channel. It's about an hour long, and though I can't really say why it's necessary, I also can't say that I really mind it too much, because like I've said, I feel like a parry is something that should just be able to end a fight. And when you move onto New Game Plus, where Havel monsters with 3000 HP are commonplace, and their scaling in critical damage like really only like makes it a bit easier for me to even the odds between me and them, seeing as I'm, you know, a level 150 of my own will, and they might be, you know, level 600-700 or so. But damn, I have a lot to say about parries tonight. While I'm talking about parries, I've been learning my setup parries lately, and it's been a really cool experience, to say the least, because like, when you can predict a person will spam just the way you want them to, then capitalize on it and get rewarded, that's a really cool thing. I feel like Jutas tutorial videos have actually helped me grow as a player, which is just awesome. And it's what I strive for with this game. Like, regardless of what people say, there does exist, I think, such a thing as a good Dark Souls 2 player, and I can say with zero shame that I want to keep getting better, because at this moment, I just love this game so much. Like, the players sometimes not so much, but the game has come such a long way since launch month. It's not even crazy. Like, it's crazy. It's amazing. And I feel like it's an interesting thing to talk about parries and like the different mindsets that they can require of both players. Like, you have your setup parries, right? which work on Katana R1 spammers and Greatsword R2 spammers, and the backstep then parry technique where like you jump back through their first swing of their attack and then parry and catch the second swing, both of which have both methods have their benefits, but so far I've noticed that the technique that grants me like the most consistent success with good players is baiting. When you appear to be vulnerable after an attack or after your first parry, or like setting up a pattern of behavior only to parry when they don't expect you to. And the reason for this is because most people that I would personally consider to be, quote unquote, good players actually don't attack more than once, especially if their first attack doesn't hit. Now, they don't mash their R1 or R2 buttons mindlessly, like, not unless it's by mistake. They wait to see if you were hit. And, like, I know that if I do a greatsword thrust, I'm sure as hell going to wait to press R2 again to see if they backstepped it or not. And sometimes you do have the time to do that, sometimes you don't, it depends on the lag, but you might catch someone out every so often, of course, like with a setup or backstep parry, but honestly, I feel like it loses its effectiveness against someone that you fight, more than 2 or 3 times. For random invasions, that's fine, but in setup matches where you generally want to like tune up your quote-unquote higher level tactics and become a tighter player, being unpredictable I've found is key. And like the only reason it's less concrete than a setup parry is because you are essentially guessing how an opponent will behave. But the same can really be said of any old R2 spammer. Like, if you rely too much on that rigid timing and go for like a setup parry with a greatsword R2 spammer, if they delay that second R2 by even a little bit, you're fucked. You take a huge hit, possibly with counter damage on top of it, and you feel dumb too. And that probably hurts the most. You can also combine something like a backstep parry with a predictive one. Like, I think, like for example, a lot of players use the curved sword moveset, the two-handed one, to do the running attack into 1 or 2 more R1s because of the stun lock. And if you notice this behavior, you can try to bait them into doing it again, backstep through the running attack, and then parry to catch that second R1, so that you're definitely, like, at that point, you're definitely doing more than guessing. And a lot of people in the arena, I've noticed, they blame parry spamming, so they frame a predictive parry as parry spamming, and it just kind of bothers me. It bothers me because I feel like people are telling me that I'm really bad at something, that I have to just continually flap my arm or something, when I really am just, I knew that they were going to do that, so that's why I baited them into attacking again and making them feel stupid, Of course, take everything that I say with a grain of salt. I'm by no means top tier. I don't consider myself that. I just happen to have a microphone and a capture card, and I just want to give my opinion on the relative usefulness, I guess, of different kinds of parries in certain situations. Now, moving on to some more objectively true things, I think. I feel like a few things are in need of fixing still. Now, some people might roll their eyes and say, well, you don't say. The game's still a bit broken. I know. Now, if I don't say exactly what you think needs to be fixed, I urge you to tell me your gripes in the comments. I know there's going to be a fair bit of fix soul memory, please, in the comments, but I know really would like to see soul memory fixed or tweaked or an alternative given in the DLC. Please, I've still got my fingers crossed. Take, for example, a weapon that I think needs a big nerf. The Chaos Blade. It's got high counter damage, can reach over 400 AR before being infused with Dark, and then buffed with Dark Weapon. And What this results in is a weapon that tracks well, weighs barely anything relative to its damage, and hits as hard as a great hammer, which in some cases, in some cases, it hits even harder than one, thanks to the high counter damage. Now, I run with about 2100 HP usually, and I've been told that that's actually like a little higher than, you know, the normal HP that some people would roll with. And I've got, and I don't care that I've got middling defenses, right? A katana should not be able to do 1400 points of damage to me in 2 hits, period. The 100 damage that the opponent takes because they hit you twice is not enough of a penalty at that point, because if they just hit me once more, I die, and they've only taken 150 points of damage, which, I'm not saying the self-damage should be increased, I'm saying that the base damage, the scaling, or the counter damage even of the Chaos Blade of all katanas, I think, the counter damage of all katanas, I think, should be reduced. I see so many buffed Chaos Blades lately that whenever I see one, it just makes me sigh, and I'm like, well, okay, I guess I know how this match is going to go. Like, either I manage to eke out a win, or I've got like a 75% chance that I'm going to take massive damage in the last 10 seconds of the fight, even though I had the advantage for most of it. And moving off the katanas there, the Red Iron Twin Blade also needs a damage nerf. Yes, it's really easy to parry, I know, if you can judge the latency and the other player is dumb, but so is everything else in the game. 1200 damage in 1R1 combo, I feel, is too much reward for very little skill, when my Warp Sword or Scimitar, I hit twice for like 400 to 500 damage. You can't roll into a Twin Blade or Katana user to punish with a backstab either, since if they just press R1 one more time, they automatically track to you and they hit you when you come out of your iframes. I don't know, I just think they're too strong. Like, to clarify once again, I hit for 800 in 2 Great Hammer hits that are easier to dodge, more stamina intensive, the weapon is heavier, and it's easy to punish, while they hit for 50% more damage with no penalty. If you can think of a reason why these weapons should hit as hard as they do, tell me. Really, I want to know. Also, the Black Flamestone Dagger. This is a weapon that just screams ultimate tryhard to me every time I see it. Like crackling with lightning or seething with dark. The thing is, as long as a straight sword. It has the damage of a straight sword, which is not bad. The range of a straight sword, but the speed of a dagger, which means that you can stun lock for at least 3 hits in most cases, sometimes 4. I've been hit by it 5 times before. I don't know how that happened, but due to like weird lag and just like I was mashing B and I just couldn't get out of it, whatever. Like, what this has resulted in is like dark and lightning infused flamestone daggers buffed that will do 900 to 1300 points of damage to you before you can get out of the 2-handed R1 stun lock. And it's not like a twin blade, right? It's not like the twin blade R1 where you can feasibly go like, well, you know, it's really slow, it's really predictable, it's got a lot of hits in it. If I parry, maybe I'll catch them off guard. A really careless flamestone dagger user will fall for that sometimes and get parried if they're really aggressive, but if you get someone that's even remotely smart, it just doesn't work anymore. And also like lethal are like the R2s that it's got, the 2-handed ones being the long range pokes, and they're not supposed to be long range pokes because they're the exact same as the normal dagger moveset, but because of how long the weapon is, they become long range extremely fast pokes. So they have way too much range, way too much damage, and honestly, I feel like the best way I could think to nerf this thing would be to slow it down, lower the damage a lot, or just completely remove it from the game. And I haven't said that about pretty much anything, but I honestly think that it's a weird weapon. It does too much good for like how light it is and how like little stats you have to invest in it, and it's too good at this moment in time, in my opinion. And I don't know, like it honestly, it pains me to see the people who use this thing and watch them taunt because they think they've done something good by hitting R1 3 times, 2 times in a row. And I don't know. Sorry, excuse assault. This thing like makes me genuinely just angry. And oh yeah, there was one other thing that I want to talk about. This is just something that I feel like is genuinely broken. Roll punching. This has to be removed from the game, and it surprises me that it's still here because, like, even after all this time, because, like, for those of you who are unaware, when you power stance fist type weapons, including the Vanquisher's Seal Fists, the Claws, and the, what do you call them? The Cestus, or the Kestis, or the Castus, or the Cestus, or however you say it, you can cancel out of the L1, the power stanced L1, and roll while active damage frames linger and hit your opponent. And this essentially allows you to do damage and remain invulnerable at the same time, and to my knowledge, I believe this is also unparryable unless you fuck up the timing for the roll punch, and it's very easy to do, like bordering like the backstep and roll parries that you used to be able to do. And what baffles me about why it's still in here is because it requires exactly the same fix as the parries did. Like just make the power stance L1s of the fist weapons not able to be cancelled out of. It breaks the game because these people are practically unpunishable. Like, this is not opinion. This is something that should not happen and is a result of the game's poor coding in this spot. And it needs to be fixed because it is broken. And from, you've shown us that you can fix this problem already, so go on and do it, please. So I can stop seeing these people in the arena and on the Iron Keep Bridge just thinking they're good, or just being, haha, look, you can't hit me, trolls. Because it's like, I'm just sick of it, personally. Blinding Bolt and Soul Shower's tracking are both still fucked, but one is definitely worse than the other. You've got 3 guesses. Now, I don't even have anything more to say on this except the people that shout, use the Lightning Watcher's shield. No, I will not. The thing fucking ruins my fashion. Rings, when it's hit, I really hate the sound that it makes, and using it would be admitting defeat against a bad part of the game. Like, all those people that insisted the Monastery Scimitar was easy to deal with and it didn't need to be nerfed. Like, you just had to jump attack or use unparryable weapons, which, you know, it cuts out 80% of your available tactics. Like, being able to react to a problem in only one way is not balance. And yes, I know that the game isn't a fighting game, but if they don't care about balance at all, then if they didn't care about balance at all, they wouldn't be releasing patches that fix this type of thing in the first place, would they? Like, we wouldn't have had regulations, you know, 0.1 to 0.9, 0.10, I think, that we have now. Like, we wouldn't have those. I've been hit 3 times in a row by Blinding Bolt at 105 agility, stun-locked, for 1400 damage or so. All because there was literally nothing for me to hide behind. And they had 50 casts of it. Like, well, not literally 50, but they felt like they had 50 casts of it. Just balance this shit from, please. Like, Blinding Bolt, Scraps of Life, and Great Heal are literally the only spells that you will ever need in the arena, I swear. I've tried it myself. I played like 4 matches with it, and I was like, holy shit, this shit is broken. So back to, what's actually going on in the video. We are back with Stryder. Him on his quality build and me on mine, running Rob Flynn, no Ring of Blades and Flynn's ring, for anybody who doesn't know, the life ring +3 and the strength ring, as I've explained already, but that was quite a while ago now. Now, there's something I've always noticed about the way that Stryder plays, and he likes a particular combo, which is really simply summed up as R1, R1, jumping attack. And that makes me sound like I'm making fun of him. I'm not. I can't count how many times I've seen him do this in random invasions and setup matches, and like 80% of the time, it yields positive results as well, because it's so simple, yet it's so genius to me. Like, 2 light attacks, because you know that after the first hit, your second hit is guaranteed. And after that, because your opponent knows they can roll out after 2, they probably want to get some distance, so they end up rolling away. It's the perfect time to suddenly do like a jumping attack and catch them at the end of their roll, and sometimes like for massive counter damage as well, because you catch them right at the end of their roll animation. And but something that I noticed is that there was like a significant lack of that combo in our matches, and I guess I'm kind of curious about why that is. If you're watching this, dude, I'd be interested in knowing whether you've fallen out of favor with that combo. Maybe you felt it was too cheap for a setup match, because I know some people have weird standards for setup matches, like they'll behave one way in a setup match, but they'll behave another way in a random invasion, which I completely agree with, and I do that myself. Like, I can be pretty scummy in some random invasions, but sometimes I'll be extremely, quote unquote honorable in a setup duel. I kind of noticed it while we were playing, but watching this over has really brought to mind how much I expected you to do it, but you just kind of didn't. And on my final note, I think, I'm not entirely sure, we are less than a week away from the crown of the Ivory King. Holy shit, that happened quickly, didn't it? I'm gonna be disappointed when we're not getting a bunch of new weapons and gameplay every month, but I'm holding out hope that this DLC is really going to blow our socks off, not only because I think it's going to be as substantial as the other DLCs, which were surprisingly good, but because From has promised us, I believe, that if we'd finished the other 2 DLCs, upon finishing the 3rd one, we'd have an extra area to go explore, or something like that. We'd get rewarded in some way. And I'm hoping that it's not just one item. I hope we get a few extra weapons, armors, and bosses from that extra area too. Maybe even just one boss. So like, this very well might be the biggest DLC yet, and I'm super excited and kind of looking to get a bunch of schoolwork done for the 24th so that I can record blind the second I get back from work on that Wednesday night. And at time of recording, there's still no word actually of where the next access point is, so I'm looking forward to seeing which Great Soul bonfire room is getting a makeover this time, if any of them. Anyway, I know this video is pretty long in the tooth, but the last video that I released like this seemed to garner a pretty positive response from you guys, and since then I've also gotten about 35 more subscribers, so hey, I enjoy doing these. They're fun. I get to vent my frustrations and analysis, and then I get to have a little party with you guys in the comments afterwards. It's really awesome for me, and I hope it's good for you guys too. Nevertheless, please do tell me what kind of format you prefer for this kind of video. Like, do you prefer shorter videos that are about 15-20 minutes long, or do you like longer ones like this? Do you want shorter videos more often, or longer videos every week or so? Again, just let me know. I don't want to waste your time or frustrate you by releasing everything in an indigestible, unsatisfying format, Okay, so anyway, thanks you guys for watching. Enjoy the rest of the fights. I'll probably put some music over them, and I will see you next time.
Peace.